set which is mentionable, as I said, that data set was for 2 years, and we see that there was a big increase on the total wealth in Great Britain. If I'm comparing the data set from 1995, then it is actually in 1995 the total wealth in Great Britain was just 4.3 or something like that trillion. But whenever we are having the latest data set in 2008, it is actually 14.6 trillion. So
Okay.
it's an amazing gain from in terms of total wealth. So, and you see there is the ongoing pandemic now, and there is a big Brexit. So do you think the pandemic and the Brexit both will affect on the total wealth? This is my first question, please.
Yeah, sure. I definitely think the data already shows that that we were in a recession as a result of COVID.
Yeah.
And also Brexit. We already now can see that Brexit has been bad for the UK economy. So definitely it's affected us. I think what happened is that COVID, because it was such a big, it really affected us dramatically. It overshadowed the effect that we had on Brexit. But clearly, the people who were saying that Brexit, the economists, most economists in the UK, even the government's economists themselves, reported that Brexit is going to be bad for the economy, and clearly they were right. So that's kind of what I could say on that.
So we can easily expect that the total wealth is going to be on decline, right?
So I don't think that the total wealth is going to be on decline. I think it's just maybe frozen.
Frozen, yeah,
So it's
exactly.
probably frozen.
So whenever the
total,
next time
total wealth is probably frozen. Maybe the real wealth will drop slightly if there is, because there is risk of inflation. So it might, and if our wages don't catch up quick enough and so on, it might be that we actually will have a decline in wealth, in real wealth, if inflation is high. So that's, people don't really know yet about that. But
okay.
also, but in general, I do think if you compare like 20 years, like 2 decades ago, the UK 2 decades ago to the way the UK is now, in my opinion, we've had many years of a conservative government, and it seems like the conservative government eroded a lot of social welfare kind of programs, and that probably has increased the income inequality. So while the income in the economy went up, overall the sum of the income went up, I think the income inequality rose even more.
Exactly. From
But I
previous
don't know the
data,
data, and I have to say from the beginning, it's not like I live the data, so I don't have it in numbers in my head.
Okay, so the previous data set shows that the top fifth of the population has the 40% of the total income, and the bottom fifth have just only 8%. So this is a huge inequality and huge gap, So
Do you
do
know?
you think?
Do you know the Gini coefficient change? Because that's another nice measurement. Do you know it?
Yeah.
Do you know what the Gini coefficient is?
GDP?
No,
Yes.
It's called the Gini coefficient.
Gini coefficient? No, just I'm not aware about the situation.
So you should look at the Gini. There's some measurement which is really useful to make a comparison. So you were looking at the top 20 versus the lowest 20. Let's say that's one way to look at it. But you can also look at it's a kind of a nice measurement which looks across time. It's called the Gini coefficient.
Okay.
And it could tell you, so it's quite cool. I could look in the computer and kind of take it out.
Okay.
So you can look it out later. Think about looking at the Gini coefficient.
So can you please give me some hints just using the email, please? Then I'll look at. So that would be nice point for me
Okay.
to think
Yeah,
about the
exactly.
story
I will. I
again,
will.
please.
Yes, I can type it here in the chat if you want.
Sure, please.
Okay,
That would
here.
be greater.
So,
So
so
that's
this,
in the meantime, can I ask you another question? Just
sure.
would be so just in the previous data set we see that so in terms of the total wealth, so there was two measured things which was the driving forces, so that private pension and property wealth. So so when you see that the price of the properties has gone gone on the rise just after the 1980s, so as the property as the price of the properties is going on, it is going to affect on the total wealth also. And there was a private pension, so there are lots of people who are getting the pensions, and it was a major forces that just increased the total wealth. So this was for the last data sets, but do you think any other measurement or any other things that is going to be affected for in terms of the total wealth, please?
Mm. So you're saying that the property went, the price of property went up.
Yeah. Then
Okay, that we know that. And why in pensions? What happened with pensions? I didn't understand the logic, what you were saying.
okay, just we see that the pensions, a lot of people due to the decisions from the government, lots of people got benefited from the pensions, and there are lots of people who are just making savings from the pensions, and this had a major impact on the total wealth in the latest survey that is completed on 2018.
18. Okay.
Yeah. So now, are these going to be the again the major forces that drive in the total wealth, or there are something else which is going to impact?
Okay. So I think what you're asking, what are the risks to total wealth? What are the main elements which could affect the total wealth in the economy?
Yeah.
So one thing about pensions is that clearly, I think that the pensions they were very generous for the previous generation, and actually the pensions have been eroded. I think in the past 10 years, the pensions have been generally been eroding in terms of their value, and that's going to affect negatively the future generations when they're, let's say, my cohort, my age group, when I go on pension, my pension is going to be poorer or worse compared to the same type of job that a person as an academic had 20 years before. So I think actually pensions is something it's a problem. I think that the value of pension is eroding. It might be because also demographics, in terms of the demographics, I don't think that the country here has enough young people to support the pensions of the old. So that's kind of a risk, a future risk. And that's why it's either the UK has higher birth rates or they have more immigration into the country. That's going to solve it. In terms of property, I think that property is also, I'm not very optimistic about property at the moment, especially because, so I think that the growth that we've seen in property is going to stop because of Brexit. A lot of properties here got inflated because foreigners probably bought property and created the dynamics for, and it's not only foreigners, but foreigners, and the demand for housing went up. If the UK is gonna kind of block the growth rates of people, the demographic growth rate, maybe that will halt the growth in the prices of houses, but it's not really clear yet. I'm not 100% sure. Another thing that I worry about in terms of wealth in the economy in this country is really I think that we're not I think that there is kind of a separation between the central government in London. The government is in London, and they have a very London-centric approach to the UK. But there is a growing income inequality, regional growing income inequality between other regions in the UK and London. Because most of the focus, most of the data that we have here, the data that you're looking at, it's very London-centric. And it's not looking at other regions and the inflation level or the wealth that the income levels that people have in those sectors. So that's a bit of a danger that I see.
Okay, so that was my next question. Just in terms of regional disparity or regional just inequality, you can easily see that London and there are some other regions. They have the income ratios of highly income ratios and highly they are rich in terms of wealth. But there are some regions you can easily see that the Birmingham and there are some other regions, East West Midlands. There are some other regions which are the gap is also increasing day by day. So do you have any specific recommendation? How can these gaps can be decreased?
So I think that one thing is about transportation. So linking to jobs and making it easier to take public transportation. If you look at the map, it's very difficult to go east-west using the train. You can go more north-south because it's all linked to London again. All the train lines are running towards London, but there's no really east-west main routes being built. And already for a century now, there's no real development, east-west development of trains and so on. So I think that's kind of one way to that's one thing. Another thing is I think that more power should be given to local communities. So for example, a recommendation I would have would be to collect taxes not only at the country level, but maybe at a regional level. So maybe the UK, I think the UK is slightly too big to have a
central government,
a central approach to allocation of money. It might be a good strategy to have the taxes collected to the government, and then some taxes allocated to regional levels, so that regional communities can make better choices, infrastructure choices.
So just like we can say USA, that you do have a central government and then the federal government there, and there are some other local government, and they are independent.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So in the US, you have two taxes. You pay federal tax and you pay a state tax. Exactly. So clearly the UK is kind of like a big. It's not as. The UK is 5 times smaller than the US. So maybe 3-4 regions in the UK would be a good idea. Or maybe. Yeah.
Okay, so I have got some nice points from your discussions. Yeah, I will use them in my story. And whenever the new data is going to be released on tomorrow, just can I have an email conversation? If I am just having some interesting data, then just can I have convert them to you for your further comment, please?
Yeah, happy to help you if I can.
Yeah, thank you very much for your help. Yeah, it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And thank you for your time too. So just if you have any other points, just please tell me. Or otherwise, we can just have an end to this conversation, please.
I would appreciate if you share with me in the end I would like to see what came out of it. It could be
exactly. Whenever it is ready, of course, I will share it with you for sure, please.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, thank you very much for the moment. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.